Joe Rogan just said it out loud on his show. The names, the island, the files, over 305 names officially confirmed in government-released documents. Billionaires, senators, entertainment industry giants.
There's so many people involved in that. Here's the big question that people
members of royal families, some of the most recognizable faces on the planet. And according to Joe Rogan, it is not even close to the full picture. In his own words, this thing is a rabbit hole that goes straight to the center of the earth. And today we are going through every single major name that has come out of the Epstein files, every email, every flight log, every piece of documented proof that the most powerful people in the world spent years trying to keep buried. Because Jeffrey Epstein may be gone, but the network he built, still running, still protected, still active, and it is time you knew exactly who is in it. Most people think Jeffrey Epstein was simply a wealthy financier who happened to have powerful friends. That is not what the files show. The files show that Epstein was running a deliberate and organized operation for decades. His job was not managing money. His real job was identifying the most powerful men in the world, men with political authority, men with global wealth, men with carefully protected public reputations, and giving them access to things they could never safely access on their own. And once they accepted what he offered, they were his forever, because everything that happened was recorded, everything was documented.
Is there a Jeffrey Epstein right now that we don't know about?
There's a million of them.
A million.
And Epstein made absolutely certain that the people who visited his properties had far more to lose from exposure than he ever did. This was not a social circle. This was a blackmail empire, and it operated openly, confidently, and with complete legal protection for decades. Little St. James, a small private island in the United States Virgin Islands, surrounded by open ocean on every side, accessible only by private boat or private aircraft, no public roads, no outside communication, no way out unless Epstein allowed. Its survivors, who later spoke to investigators, described conditions that were far darker than anything that appeared in mainstream media coverage at the time. When people were brought to the island under false pretenses, their travel documents were taken away immediately upon arrival. Their movements were controlled at all times. Their daily schedule, their clothing, their meals, every aspect of their existence on that island was managed and controlled by Epstein and his staff. One survivor described standing at the edge of the island, staring out at miles of open ocean, and seriously considering swimming away. She calculated that her chances of survival in open water were better than another night on that island. That is what Little St. James really was. Not a luxury retreat, a controlled environment designed entirely to protect the powerful men who visited it, at the complete expense of the people brought there to serve them. Federal prosecutors confirmed in official legal proceedings that girls as young as 12 years old were among those subjected to abuse on this island. 12 years old. Here is the detail that changes everything. The day after Jeffrey Epstein was formally indicted by federal prosecutors, the very next day, a specific delivery was made to his private island. Drums of sulfuric acid. Each drum contained 55 gallons. 330 gallons total, ordered, purchased, and arranged for delivery within 24 hours of his indictment becoming public knowledge. Sulfuric acid dissolves organic material completely, biological matter, physical evidence. It leaves nothing behind. There is no legitimate maintenance or construction explanation for that quantity of acid being urgently delivered to a private island the day after its owner was charged with federal sex trafficking crimes. Investigators and legal experts who examined this detail publicly stated that the timing and quantity were not coincidental. Whatever Epstein needed to destroy in those final hours, whatever required 330 gallons of acid to eliminate that question, has never been fully answered. And the files suggest there may be physical evidence still buried on his properties that investigators have not yet fully examined. The first major name to come out of the Epstein files is one of the most recognized faces in the entire world. Bill Gates. His name appears in Epstein-related documents and correspondence over 130 times. 130. And the contact did not stop after Epstein's 2008 arrest. It did not stop after his conviction and imprisonment. The emails, the meetings, the ongoing communication, it all continued long after Epstein was a convicted criminal. Recovered email correspondence shows Epstein making specific and explicit claims about his relationship with Gates, that he had arranged access to women on Gates's behalf, that pharmaceutical substances were allegedly involved in some of these interactions, that he had facilitated private meetings that Gates could never have arranged through any normal or public channel. But the most revealing email is the one where Epstein's tone becomes personal. He wrote that their friendship had lasted 6 years, that Gates had never once let him down during that time, and that he felt completely abandoned and discarded the moment their association became a public liability for Gates. It reads like a man who provided years of service and received nothing in return except silence when the cameras turned on. Gates has partially denied various elements of these allegations, but the documents exist, the emails exist, and 130 mentions in official files is not something that disappears because of a press statement. Among the most disturbing pieces of evidence in the entire file release is a single email exchange sent in 2009. In it, Epstein wrote to a contact whose name was initially hidden behind a government redaction. The message expressed enthusiastic appreciation for a video that had been shared between them privately. Language used in that email was completely unambiguous about the nature of that video. Congressional representatives who reviewed these files confirmed publicly that the email existed exactly as reported and that the identity behind the redaction had been formally established. The person identified was Sultan Ahmed bin Suud, the former chief executive of DP World, one of the largest port and shipping operators on the planet, with operations across dozens of countries and billions of dollars in annual revenue. His name was only confirmed after specific congressional representatives applied direct pressure on the Department of Justice to remove the redaction. In a separate email exchange between Celebs and Epstein also recovered in the documents, the two men discussed women in explicit and casual terms. The language between them was comfortable, familiar, the tone of two men who had communicated this way many times before. Following the public disclosure of his identity in connection with these documents, Sultan Ahmed bin Suud resigned from his position as CEO of DP World. He has not faced criminal charges in any jurisdiction. Howard Lutnick is currently the United States Secretary of Commerce, one of the most powerful economic positions in the American government. Before his appointment, Lutnick gave a recorded on-camera interview in which he described his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein in detail. He was emotional, he was specific, he was convincing. He described meeting Epstein exactly once, visiting his home once, seeing something inside that immediately made him uncomfortable, and making the decision right then with his wife standing beside him that he would never be in the same room as Jeffrey Epstein again. He called this moment a gift, a moment of immediate moral clarity that he was grateful for every day. The documents tell a completely different story. Email records, recovered in the file release, show Lutnick contacting Epstein directly to coordinate travel to the Caribbean. The email includes specific logistical details, arrival times, boat coordination, and meeting location information near Epstein's island. The same email lists the children traveling with the group by age. Multiple children, with ages ranging from 7 to 16 years old. A senior congressional representative subsequently stated publicly that he had personally reviewed communication records confirming that who had provided Epstein with his direct personal contact number, and that documented contact between the two continued far longer and far more frequently than any public statement had ever acknowledged. Lutnick sat in front of a camera and described a single, clean, morally simple encounter. The documents show years of contact, coordinated travel, children brought into the picture. He remains United States Secretary of Commerce today. In February 2019, a congressional hearing was broadcast live on national television across the United States. It was an official government proceeding, cameras everywhere, every word on the public record, and during that hearing, while the cameras were rolling, congressional delegate Stacey Plaskett was receiving real-time text messages from Jeffrey Epstein. Not before the hearing, not after, during it, while she was sitting in her official capacity as a United States legislative delegate, conducting government business on live national television. The messages told her specifically what questions to ask. Epstein identified individuals she should direct her questions toward. He provided real-time guidance on the direction of her official questioning, and she followed that guidance, asking the exact questions he suggested, targeting the exact individuals he identified, while the entire country watched. Documents released by the House Oversight Committee confirmed that the timestamps of the text exchange matched precisely with Plaskett's questioning during the hearing. The content of the messages left no room for alternative interpretation. It was direct operational instruction, delivered in real time from a registered sex offender to a sitting government official during a live broadcast. When this became public, Plaskett defended her conduct by stating that she was simply gathering information from a constituent. A formal censure vote was held in Congress. It failed. She remains in her position today. To understand how Jeffrey Epstein built the financial infrastructure that made his entire operation possible, you have to understand one relationship above all others. His relationship with Les Wexner. Wexner is the billionaire, founder of one of the most powerful fashion retail empires in American history, the parent company behind Victoria's Secret and numerous other major global brands. In the mid-1980s, Wexner granted Epstein something that no one has ever fully explained: power of attorney over his personal finances. This gave Epstein full legal authority to act on Wexner's behalf in financial matters, to move money, to make binding decisions, to represent Wexner's interests in transactions involving hundreds of millions of dollars. Epstein used this position in multiple ways simultaneously. He used Wexner's name and personal association to build his own social credibility. In circles where Wexner was respected and trusted, he used the connection to the modeling and fashion infrastructure surrounding Victoria's Secret as a recruitment mechanism, a way to identify and approach young women under the appearance of legitimate industry involvement. And he used the financial access and resources to build the infrastructure of his operation, the island properties, the private aircraft, the staffing, and everything else that his network required to function. In a recent legal deposition, Wexner confirmed under oath that Epstein had conducted financial work on behalf of one of Europe's most powerful and secretive banking families. His attorney intervened before that line of questioning could go any further. We have covered the island, the sulfuric acid, the torture video email, Bill Gates, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, Howard Lutnick who lied on camera, Stacey Plaskett who took live instructions from Epstein during a government hearing, and Les Wexner who handed Epstein the financial tools to build everything. But part 2 is where it gets even deeper. The entertainment industry names, the royal family connections, the Hollywood celebrities whose names appear in the flight logs, and the one question that nobody in power wants you to ask: if this network existed for this long, protected this many people, and operated this openly, is there another version of it running right now? Part 2 is coming. Stay with us.